chance and a 40% chance on Saturday. Right now, 55 degrees downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, Midvale Mayor Marcus Stevenson resigning after accusations that he had an affair with a city employee. In a news release, the Midvale City Council says it's deeply disappointed by the circumstances surrounding the mayor's departure, and it's prioritizing a smooth transition of leadership. Midvale City Council member Paul Glover will take the mayor's responsibilities until the council picks a new mayor. The Blizzard family sawmill in Camas burned down last night. The business had been running for 80 years.
It's really sad. It's an 80-year business, long-time family business here in Camas. They are uninsured and are unsure what their direction will be.
The South Summit Fire District Chief Scott Thorell says the mill was filled with old equipment that likely can't be replaced. The timber stored outside the mill was saved, but there's no way to process the wood. The cause of the fire still under investigation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress after President-elect Trump nominated him as Attorney General, but other members of the House are asking the Ethics Committee to release the report on its investigation. His resignation essentially stopped the investigation, but Democrats say that report should be made public. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is down on the day now 150 points. The NASDAQ is down 91. And our KSL weather. We've got partly cloudy skies with a storm coming in by the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time 101.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Well, finally, you can really feel fall in the air. The weather is confirming it, and that means that the holidays are just around the corner. It is not too early to get into the Western Nut Company and take care of all of the things you're going to need for the holiday season. Taking care of your company employees, your clients, personal gifts for those in the neighborhood. The Western Nut Company has been a tradition now for over a half a century. For our family, it just wouldn't be the Christmas season without Western Nut. You can choose from an amazing assortment of the finest nuts the world has to offer, all roasted and packaged and ready to go right there at their flagship store in downtown Salt Lake City, 434 South on 3rd West. And then soon we'll be looking for the kiosks. You can call, you can go online. It's the Western Nut Company, the perfect place for your gifts this upcoming holiday season. Don't forget, it's not too early to get into the Western Nut Company now.
No watering, no mowing. In our drought-ridden state, artificial turf sounds nice, but wait.
They're telling us we have to tear it up.
That's not necessarily the full story.
KSL investigates the red tape around green turf tonight at 10.
Feeling frustrated? Ignored? Deceived? It's time to get Gephardt. Get Gephardt. Weeknights at 10 on KSL.
Basketball season is back. With Jazz Plus, you can watch games live from your TV, computer, tablet, or phone. So don't miss any of the action when you're at home or away. Can't get enough of your favorite team? Go behind the scenes and see what the team is up to on and off the court. With flexible plans, you can choose what works for you, from full season to monthly, or just pick a single game you want to watch. Sign up and subscribe today at UtahJazzPlus.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down. get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We've had a report of a possible accident. I'm not seeing it yet. Southbound I-15 near 53rd South. In fact, traffic getting through that spot very well. And the intersection is open, and the accident is in the final cleanup stages. Out of traffic, 4100 South, 4800 West. The UACPA supports certified public accountants in Utah through ongoing professional education and leadership development. Find a CPA that works for you. UACPA.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
High clouds move in today with showers expected from Friday night into Saturday. And right now we're at 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm going to just tell you all what. I'm Leah Murray, and this is my first Inside Sources moment. But Rusty, you've been on. Rusty Cannon's with me.
That's
but
right.
You've been on this week already.
I was on Tuesday, and this is your first day in the new format. So
That's
welcome.
right. It is so much fun. And we're going to
Yes.
have an excellent conversation about all the things. I love how that stager Rusty said, we've got new people in office, right? So we've got new people in government. And I am thinking about President Donald Trump, who is with lightning speed kind of laying out what his government is going to look like. So I want to be really clear. He absolutely has a mandate. He absolutely has a trifecta, right? So he got all the branches. And then, so a little bit, you kind of expect, right, everything he said he would do on the campaign trail, we expect him to at least attempt to deliver on, right?
Yeah, you'd expect him to, and supporters would hope he would do that. I certainly do. And as he was rolling out these picks over the last few days, I think there was a lot of, at least from what I was hearing and seeing and thinking myself, was, yeah, okay, that one makes sense. Oh, that's great, you know. And then maybe the needle moves a little bit with a couple of picks yesterday, and then you have another pick yesterday where the needle moved a ton, where a lot of people are scratching their heads, which we will get to.
Yeah, let's do that in our next segment.
Yeah, we'll do that in our next segment. First, we're going to focus on a couple that came up yesterday, or at least over the last couple of days, is with the Department of Defense and the DNI, Director of
All right, so
National
real quick, I want to be really honest with you and say that I'm not a Fox News consumer all that often. Not that I think people shouldn't be, but I generally am not watching talking heads on any shows, right? If I'm getting news, it's usually through the newspaper or the radio or a podcast. So the person that he wants for Department of Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, you know him, Rusty, because my understanding is he's on Fox News?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Fox News either. In fact,
Okay.
I knew he was a host, but I had not seen his show before. However, that I think is more of the distraction being used to maybe talk about him not being qualified. I think the point that I hope people would look at is that he spent 19 years, if I have the number right, in the military, in the Army. He was a major, which is not an easy place to get to. He was a combat veteran, I believe, in Afghanistan and Iraq. He also was awarded the Bronze Star twice. That is not an easy medal to get. You don't get it, but I'm saying your award. There's something going on if you got that twice, meaning that you have been in the thick of things. And so a lot of deep military experience. However, a lot of people thought, wait a minute, you're talking about a talk show host or a weekend anchor or something like that, now running the Department of Defense. that doesn't make sense. That was an initial reaction of a lot of people yesterday.
All right, so let's listen to Pete Hegseth was on the Sean Ryan show talking about China.
The Pentagon is in the book the exact amount of years, but in the past X number of years, 10, 12, 15, the Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time inside the Pentagon war games. We didn't even get to this part of the war on warriors. I mean, the military-industrial complex, the way we procure weapon systems, we're always, the way our system works, the way our bureaucratic system works, where the speed of weapons procurement works, we're always a decade behind in fighting the last war. Whereas China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset. Take hypersonic missiles. So if our whole power projection platform is aircraft carriers and the ability to project power that way strategically around the globe, and yeah, we have a nuclear triad and all of that, but a big part of it. And if 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like?
So that was the point I was going to get to.
Yeah.
That is somebody that I would be very happy running the Department of Defense.
And I think a little bit, and I would expect that President Trump, is looking for outsiders to Washington, because I don't think his first term in office really endeared him to the Washington scene. Does that make sense? Like,
No,
I
it
don't
did
think he
not.
really trusts a lot of people there. So when he's looking for Pete Hegseth, and I'm going to just take that you're right, him being on Fox News is maybe totally a distraction. The fact that he's not a 5-star general, you're going to say, is not really a problem.
No.
And maybe the answer is because Trump is looking for a disruptor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. So those that know how the military works, and I'm certainly not an expert here, but I know people that have been in the military, friends, relatives, others. When you get to a certain echelon in the officer ranks, you go above colonel, step into general. There is no denying it becomes very political. I mean, it's the military, all of that. We love the military, but it is unmistakably political above that level. And I don't think there is much added for expertise as far as being able to run the Department of Defense just by being a general, right? And there's more experience in years and all, and I think that's fair. And I'm obviously saying this from a civilian perspective, maybe somewhat uninformed, but I think it makes sense that there's nothing wrong with putting someone in a post like that is maybe a little bit more junior to them, but has some good, strong opinions about ways to shake things up. Because he's right. We procure weapons. We have systems that is very slow-moving, a slow process. And I think he's right. We are prepared for a war that likely won't happen, and maybe underprepared for a war that is going to happen.
Okay, so, and a little bit, I'm interested in this idea of making China's the big enemy. Does that make sense? Like that we are.
Yeah, that's one example.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so another one was former Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who I got to know, not personally, but during the 2019 run-up in the primary in 2020, she was running for president as a Democrat.
She was.
Right? So she was one of the 22 people who were on those stages in 2019. And she's going to be the Director of National Intelligence. So tell me why do you think Republicans are worried about her because she used to be a Democrat? Are people worried about her because maybe she doesn't have a lot of, the CV doesn't include a lot about national intelligence? Like, what is the worry about her?
I think, in my personal opinion, I think a lot of the worry about her is political. She left the Democrat Party, became a Republican recently in a very vocal way, and supported Donald Trump. You could make a case that she's being rewarded for that. However, she has deep experience in the military. She has broad experience, just her entire background, and I think could easily fit into the D&I role. You got to remember She made some waves back in, I'm losing track of time, was it 2019 when she was running 2020? Yeah, 2019 in the primary she effectively ended the primary run for Kamala Harris. She did in that debate when she had a few things that she said. There's probably some hurt feelings out there and some angst, but my personal opinion, I think opposition to her is pretty shallow. And Hegseth, I think, fairly shallow. The third one we're going to get to in the next segment, that takes a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, so let's just pin that, if that's all right, Rusty, because we're going to chat about Matt Gaetz, give him his due as a whole segment. But a little bit what I want to say, the takeaways is that this cabinet that Trump is putting together absolutely emphasizes loyalty to him, a willingness to challenge established norms, right? Like this is... how do I say? I feel like he promised all of this in 2016 and then did not deliver on it. Mm-hmm. And a little bit, I feel like he's coming back this time to say, oh, no, I'm going to deliver, right? Like we're going to have outsiders run into the show.
I agree. I agree. And I think he's learned his lesson, at least up until the Gaetz nomination. We'll talk about that. A lot of momentum, a lot of smart picks. There is no reason anybody needs to pick someone that is not loyal to them. It bothers me when people say, well, they're just loyalists. Well, why would you want to appoint someone that isn't aligned with what you want to do?
All right.
I mean,
so let's dig into it. Next up on Inside Sources, it's been about 24 hours since President-elect Trump announced that Matt Gaetz was his pick for Attorney General. And oh my goodness, we have been talking about it ever since. Stay with us.
Here's something you don't want to miss. We want to let you know about Advanced Garage Door. They're a great company that Deb and I discovered.
Kyle, what sets Advanced Garage Door apart from other companies?
At Advanced Door, we're always looking for the industry-leading and highest quality garage door parts. We handle everything from repairs and installations to maintenance and emergency services. Plus, we provide a lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts.
A lifetime warranty? That's amazing. What does it cover?
Our lifetime warranty covers labor on residential doors, parts, and services, as long as our recommendations are followed. This means our customers can enjoy peace of mind knowing their garage doors are always protected.
That's fantastic. So if someone's garage door is giving them trouble, what should they do?
Just give us a call. Our certified technicians are available 24/7 to provide prompt and reliable service. We're here to ensure your garage door is always in top shape.
For all your garage door needs, visit advanced-door.com.
Or call 801-252-5977 today.
Advanced Garage Door, where we sell peace of mind.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold.
Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the mayor of Midvale has resigned. The city council says it's disappointed. Second, Democrats in the House want the Ethics Committee to release its report on Matt Gaetz now that he's been nominated for Attorney General. Third, Granite School District talking about closing 3 more elementary schools. Right now, we're at 55 degrees, partly cloudy skies, and back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. Rusty Cannon here with the one and only Leah Murray. And that music has me distracted. That's some good music.
Yeah,
right
you
there.
like paused because you just wanted to listen to the jam.
I wanted to listen to that instead of my voice, but it was so
Just
so
want to dance
smooth.
away.
Yes.
But now here's the issue. I'm just going to say, with our new gig here, Rusty, it used to be the case that you could have danced away and no one but me would know.
Correct.
But now the answer is we're on video. So
Yeah,
I just
we
need
can't
to
dance.
remind you when you start boogieing, everybody can see you.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right, speaking of boogieing, there's a lot going on in D.C. today. We talked about it a bit in the last segment. Now we're going to go into a bit deeper dive into a pick yesterday. First of all, I want to thank President-elect Trump for doing one thing for me. Matt Gaetz is no longer a Florida congressman.
Oh, so talk to me right there. So why is
Okay,
that
so
you're
he-
thanking him because?
Yeah, so he was nominated as the Attorney General candidate. He immediately, or somewhat immediately, resigned from the House.
And that makes you happy because?
I am not a fan of Matt Gaetz.
Okay, so can you tell me why and the people who are listening to us why?
Well, I'll be making 50% of people very upset. However, we spent 2 months roughly, or whatever that was a year ago, wasting the nation's time looking for a new Speaker of the House when we should have just, you could argue, not done anything because nothing changed. Nothing changed in the process. All of that drama, all because of pretty much one person, him, right? And just time wasted. I think too much attention, when folks are so focused on attention to themselves, it's hard to get past that. There is likely no more disliked elected official in D.C., in my opinion, than Matt Gaetz.
Yeah,
amongst his peers.
Yeah,
and I will say
and even
that,
amongst
absolutely.
people who agree with him policy-wise, right?
Yeah.
Because your point is so well taken. It's like there's no safe place between Matt Gaetz and like a megaphone, right? Because he's got to make some noise.
Yeah.
And your point is really well taken. What was that? 18, 19 votes for speaker and just all of that drama. Because of him.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So he has been announced as the nominee. He is immediately checking out of the House Republicans.
Yeah, he did that because Mike
go.
Johnson can now go and ask. Florida will now run a special election. Gives them, I think, roughly 8 weeks to do so and get a Republican in there quickly, kind of before the show gets started, right? So there's reason to. However, as luck would have it, a couple of days from now on Friday, the House Ethics Committee was going to vote on whether to release an ethics report on Matt Gaetz.
Right, because they have been investigating the Department of Justice that he is now going to be in charge of. Last year, dropped criminal proceedings, right, Rusty, against Matt Gaetz for really naughty things, right? So just bad stuff coming out of Florida. And so they dropped the charges. The Ethics Committee in the House was looking at it. And my understanding was they were going to vote whether to release the report on Friday. You're saying that it won't come out on Friday. Is that something someone could FOIA? Like if you and I wanted to read it, could we do a Freedom of Information Act and compel the Congress to let it out?
That's a good question. I don't know. I doubt it, but I could be wrong. But here's the case that, as I spoke to people in D.C., there is no way that doesn't get leaked.
Right, or
especially if he moves forward into the process, that absolutely will get leaked.
Right. So my question is, could the Senate Judiciary Committee FOIA it? I mean, I guess it wouldn't be
I'm
FOIA,
sure
right? But could they say, send this over? I mean, let's just talk about Judiciary Committee for a moment. Chuck Grassley is going to be the chair of that committee. 91-year-old man. He's been in office since the year I was born. So I want to be clear, he's been in Congress for a long time and is probably not scared of anybody. When he heard Matt Gaetz was being nominated, he literally was speechless for 30 seconds, and then he's going to chair the first round. Does that make sense? Like the committee that's going to talk to him.
Yeah, and so there's some other interesting comments from other senators. So this is Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine. She said, obviously the president has the right to nominate whomever he wishes, but this is why the Senate's advise and consent process is so important. Here's the key. She said, I'm sure that there will be many, many questions raised at Mr. Gaetz' hearing if, in fact, the nomination goes forward. That was interesting. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican from Alaska, we all know well. She said, quote, I don't think it's a serious nomination for the Attorney General. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to consider somebody that is serious. That's quite a one. Now my favorite from Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. He said, quote, I have very few skills. Vote counting is one, and I think he's got a lot of work to get to 50. I thought that was the funniest thing.
And the best part about this is these are people who are on the record. Rusty, what I had heard, right, was rumors of people kind of being like, this is a non-starter. It's never going to go. So I want to talk to you about that. So let's just say, and I do, have respect for Donald Trump's intellect. I also have some respect for his ability to play three-dimensional chess, right? So I'm going to say I think he's thinking this stuff all the time. Do you think that he is nominating Matt Gaetz because now all that Washington is talking about is Matt Gaetz, and no one is talking about the guys we talked about in our last segment, right? Tulsi Gabbard or Hesketh, right? That they are probably not going to be people who have a hard time. And that you and I talked off the air about this, that in Washington, you don't have that many no's, right? When you are spending a no and you're in the Republican Party against your president's nominee, you might get one, right? And so if he throws out into the universe this really obvious no, does it shore up all of his yeses?
You know, I think he could make a case that is the strategy, but honestly, I don't think anybody knows. Literally, it could be many different scenarios. It could be just simply maybe an oversight, and maybe we shouldn't have done this, just a bad choice. The other thing, this is easily pulled back or changed. He'll have other candidates he can do if this doesn't happen. But, you know, you put the pieces together and you wonder, okay, in that ethics investigation summary coming out in a couple of days, you resign from Congress. That hopefully doesn't see the light of day. If your nomination goes down, okay, you know, it is what it is. There's all kinds of different things. Or literally, it could be that he really likes Matt Gaetz and thinks that it will be, you know, a great thing to have him as Attorney General, which is his perfect right to nominate him. I just really scratch my head. I have a hard time believing that his new chief of staff, who is phenomenal, Susie Wiles, would okay this, but
and she's from Florida too.
I think so,
right? And I think they all know each other, and we all know state politics and that. You know what I mean? Like you know stuff for a long time about people. I mean, I do think it's interesting. Here's the thing I will say: we have the first Senate Majority Leader who is new in a long time. People who could vote this year weren't alive. When Mitch McConnell started his job. And so I wonder about Majority Leader John Thune from South Dakota. He's the new leader, first time in a while, and nobody is talking about him. Then you're kind of like, does that set the relationship up with the president between the Senate going forward? You know what I mean? There's a way to win friends and influence people. And sometimes I think, I said earlier, I have a lot of respect for Trump's intellect, but a little bit, maybe I wouldn't have done it this way. And the fact that none of them had any idea it was coming, so that when they were asked by reporters, they were all stunned into silence when they're trying to answer. One guy said, I can't talk about it. I have to go fix a toilet. Like the fact that a senator...
that was a literal quote from a senator.
Said that out loud. That's crazy. I just am wondering about all of that. What do you think?
You know, everybody had hoped or would hope that this time around versus 2016, you got your ducks in a row, you're step-by-step gaining momentum, and you're doing things the right way, and you're not swatting at flies. This was a swat at a fly, I think, and it's just, I'm still scratching my head. I don't get it. I don't get why it's a good idea. I understand having a real hard line in there, but you pick the one that is the least liked member of the entire body, nominate them to something as significant as Attorney General, and you think that's going to go well? I don't get it. And so, yes, the questions arise of, is it 3D chess or 4D chess? It very well could be, because, you know, you look at every news station on the planet, that's all they're talking about. They're not talking about Tulsi Gabbard or Hegseth at this point.
But you know what else what they're not talking about is that the Republicans just won, and that the Republicans have a mandate, and they have a trifecta. And a little bit, I'll tell you what, this should be a victory lap, and it is not.
Correct. So I'm confused. I'm still scratching my head. we'll just have to wait and see. I think as time plays out, I think everybody is waiting to hear maybe if the president comments on, or President-elect comments on this. We'll have to see. So, all right, folks, remember, if you miss out on any of our shows, or if you love a particular segment so much you want to hear it again, you can find our full shows and individual segments posted online after each show. You can find us on kslpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Inside Sources. All right, we'll be back in our next segment. We're going to go into a deep dive into the shattering of the Democratic coalition. We'll be right back.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, Granite School District talking about closing 3 more elementary schools. There are multiple factors going into that decision, including declining enrollment. District spokesperson Andrea Stringham says it's a chance for these resources to be consolidated.
That's more funding for more paraeducators in those schools, for more support programs. There's also more effective parent participation.
Stringham says they're also looking at reopening one of the schools as a Spanish dual language immersion program. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Families of the victims of the 2012 school shooting in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, say the surprise new owner of a conspiracy website will stop the spread of misinformation. The website's previous owner was Alex Jones. He was found liable for defaming the Sandy Hook families. The website now has a big white screen that says it's no longer available. It was bought by the satirical publication The Onion in a bankruptcy auction. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down right now on the day, 193 points. The NASDAQ is down 112. And our KSL weather. We've got clouds moving in and a storm by the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I let go of about 120 pounds. Mobility's back. When people see me, they're just shocked. You know, they always ask you, like, what'd you do? And I tell them, I came to soda. It's accountability. These guys, I don't think I would have done it on my own if I didn't have their support.
Find the proof at sodaweightloss.com with thousands of before and after pictures from real people who found lasting success with Soda Weight Loss.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. All you have to do is do what they ask you to do. The pounds melt off. It's amazing, and I feel great.
Imagine getting on the scale every week and watching the pounds melt off, showing off your new look for the holidays. There's a reason Soda Weight Loss is the chosen weight loss program of the Dallas Cowboys organization and fans. Right now, get Soda's biggest savings of the year. Connect with a nutritionist today at sodaweightloss.com and ask about our holiday special. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
In 2024, dating is a disaster. We've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, stuck in situationships.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm Caitlin. Welcome to our new podcast, Dating at Her Age.
Dating has been so dicey for us, we asked KSL, can we launch an all-new podcast about it?
People use these dating apps. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app.
Dating at Her Age, brought to you by Mountain Home Services. A new episode drops every Thursday on KSLNewsRadio.com.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
All quiet on the Valley freeways, no accidents, no delays. We did have the crash at 4100 South, 4800 West. It has been cleared. All lanes of travel are open at that intersection. This holiday season, Murdoch Chevrolet is grateful for you. Take up to $5,000 off a Silverado heavy duty for 1.9% for 6 years on a Silverado light duty. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
High clouds move in today with showers expected from Friday night into Saturday. And right now we're at 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside my good friend Rusty Cannon, as we talk about interesting things that are happening in the news of the day. So, Rusty, you and I think, find a lot of agreement in our disagreement, right?
Yes, we do.
So we do.
We disagree better.
We do. We disagree very, very well. Not better. We do. We are the model. Right. Over the months of co-hosting with you. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Democratic Party, which is probably my team and not your team, but do it in a super reasonable way, in that I think that the Democratic Party is really failing. So I want to give my hot take on this, which when I've said to some people, it didn't go over well with all groups, and so I'll see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And then we can dig into some data we're seeing. But my argument goes all the way back to 1992 and another kind of questionable moral leader that we had in this country, Bill Clinton, when he ran for office and he said, it's the economy, stupid. Yeah. It's always the economy. And a lot of people on the Democratic side cannot understand why Donald Trump is someone that anyone would vote for, right? They think he's got moral failings. They will talk about that a lot. And my answer is, just like I just said about Bill Clinton, the answer is, it is the economy, right? Yeah. So when Trump comes in and talks about raising tariffs on goods in China, I'm not sure everyone understands that means that we're going to pay more, right? So any good that comes from China, that tariff is a tax that we'll have to pay, or companies will have to move their sources, their sources of chips or operations or whatever to different parts of the world. But what he is doing is trying to protect the American economy. Yeah. When he talks about, cutting taxes on wages, and you and I talked to someone about how the damage that would do to Social Security, I think you might remember on KSL at night, we had that conversation, that it would do some damage to Social Security solvency. But the answer is, if I am working and I have, if I have tip wages, how I make my money is tips, and you're going to cut those taxes, that actually helps me. So I think that the Democratic Party, which has very much leaned into democracies in crisis conversations, or I would argue identity politics conversations, and didn't do that, or how do I say, they did that at the expense of economic conversations, and that's a little bit why they're not going to win for a while.
Yeah, this article that we discussed as we prepared for this segment lines this out in the thought from the author. I thought were good points. It's fair to question, has the Democrat Party misstepped in a few areas? And this is what he talked about that was quite interesting, is that in his opinion, they're struggling to appeal to working class voters, rural communities, non-white working class voters, and being at a disadvantage in those areas. And they've now, statistically, it can be seen with this election, lost support among younger voters and working class voters. And he tries to line out a strategy to appeal to these areas. So as an example, the gender gap. So there was a lot of talk before the discussion about this, about the Harris vote versus the Trump vote among men and women. This is interesting. Harris's margin among women was actually less than Biden's in 2020. 7 points for Harris versus 12 points for Biden. And the Trump margin was better among men, 10 points versus 5 points in 2020. So the overall gender gap went from 17 points in 2020 to 17 points in 2024. However, that swing that you saw where he picked up more than she lost, it showed that they're really struggling to close that gender gap, which I thought was interesting. I did not expect that.
Right. And the other thing I think is interesting in this article is the age gap, right? So I want to tell you that I poll my students every time there's an election, especially a presidential election, and I say, who are you going to vote for? And my intro government class picked 70% Trump. Right. So
Really?
I was not surprised that people aged 18 to 25, because that's my age group demographic in my class, were going for Trump in the way that I think people watching this nationally were very surprised. But don't you think, Rusty, behind all of that is still, it's the economy, stupid. So if it is the case that I am 22 years old and I cannot afford to pay rent or buy a house, right? Like the economy is not working for me at all. How am I going to hear something that talks about democracy's in trouble? Like, that means nothing if I can't afford to live in a house. Does that make sense? If I can't afford to put food on my table. And I got to tell you, younger people are going to feel that worse than older people because they've never even had a shot at getting set up to, survive some of these economic waves.
Yeah, so that was manifested in the numbers as well, what you're talking about. Among all working class voters, Trump dramatically widened his advantage. He tripled his margin from 4 points in 2020 to 12 points in this election. So that included moving from 25 to 29 points among white working class voters and radically compressing his deficit among non-white working class voters from 48 points 4 years ago to 33 points. So that's a significant change where, and that's the point of this article, is that you can make a case where Democrats as a whole ticket maybe have lost touch with the working voter and maybe look at more ways to tailor a message towards the working voter and not just, as this author puts it, maybe more elite concerns.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was a tweet, so I do apologize if I'm going to quote this wrong. I think our Governor Cox kind of tweeted out something that said, people don't like being told they're racist or misogynist, right? And I'm not quoting it accurately. And a little bit... Yeah, because if you are totally disconnected and people who are listening to you feel like you're lecturing them all the time, does that make sense? Like, that doesn't help. So again, I'm going to argue it's the economy. I'm just going to tell you that. Yeah. But then it's like the messaging. So when I'm messaging about the economy, so how many Democrats did we hear say inflation's not that bad? You just don't understand that it's not that bad. It's transitory. Or wages are actually right. And the answer is, dude, if you are selling that narrative, which I don't see in the grocery store, it might behoove you not to do it in such a way that makes me feel like an idiot. Right? So your point there, like, it's very elite. I think the Democratic Party is very... Man, there's a lot of elitism in that party, a lot of like condescending tone. Even if what you're saying is accurate, people like, what is that thing that we know, like 50% is actually how you're talking, not what you say, right? Like the tone actually matters. So it's interesting to me. I do feel if Democrats were paying more attention to working class issues, right? If they were paying more attention to rural voters who, when you ask them why they like Trump, a lot of them will say, because he hears us, because he sees us, right? That these are people who feel like they're not being seen. They have got to do a better job of not talking down to people or telling voters. Like the number of people who have said to me, they voted for Trump because they don't understand. And I want to say, you don't get to get in someone else's head or heart and decide how they vote and then tell them they're wrong when they don't do what you want.
You're exactly right. So this author, he posited a bunch of different theses that he thinks, okay, if Democrats sort of coalesce around these, maybe we have a shot. This is the liberal patriot is the moniker he goes by. And I thought this was interesting. I'm just going to read just three of them because I thought they were interesting. He said, maybe think about this statement. Equality of opportunity is a fundamental American principle. Equality of outcome is not. Right? I thought that was interesting. Then the second one, America is not perfect, but it is good to be patriotic and proud of this country. And third, discrimination and racism are bad, but they are not the cause of all disparities in American society. And then he has a whole list of these, of things. Maybe we start thinking about this way. And I thought that was an interesting way to put it because you wonder, is the strategy now going forward after this election, hey, let's just try harder to sell what we're selling or maybe change what we're selling because we didn't think it quite worked. And this will be interesting to see how it plays out in the Democrat Party. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, Rusty, do you remember you and I talked about the data from Utah? Okay,
Yeah.
so we
yeah.
right, and that Republicans have a very big tent of ideology, and the Democrats do not.
No.
I had this conversation over the weekend with some Democrats, and someone came up to me and she said, "I thought we were the big tent." I said, "No, you're not. You're not. So what you did was made your tent smaller, made it somewhat obnoxious, right, when it talks to people. And so I'm not even sure I disagree with what Democrats are selling, and you and I know that we argue about this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is the role of government in solving some of the problems? But I'm going to tell you what, anything I'm selling has got to come with a tone that doesn't turn people off or make people feel stupid or talk down to them. And a little bit, Democrats are so siloed, I don't think they know it. So they have got to go out and talk to other voters. All right, Rusty, next up on Inside Sources, let's just keep talking about the economy, if that's all right.
Let's do it.
And let's have a conversation about Trump's upcoming presidency and what we think some effects might be. Stay with us.
Jimmer from 40 feet. Got it. He did it again.
Hi, I'm Jimmer Fredette. We all have our heroes. I know I have mine. Looking to them as role models has helped me achieve my dreams. If you want to make a difference, give hope to thousands of Americans on the organ transplant waiting list. 3/4 of those on the list need a kidney, and one person dies every 2 hours as the need for organs far exceeds the supply. I made the choice to be an organ donor. You can make a difference. Donate a kidney or donate a car. Both save lives. Join me, Jimmer Fredette, in my effort to make an impact. Donate to the Kidney Foundation today. Donate online at www.towcars.org. That's TOWKARS.org. Make your car a kidney car, a car that saves lives. Call the Kidney Foundation at 1-800-TOW-CARS today. Join me and make a difference.
Call 1-800-TOW-CARS with a K, like kidney.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
You know what? I think the holidays are the worst time of year for your furnace to go out. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and every November it feels like people get extra stressed when faced with the need to replace their furnace. The money they've been saving is supposed to go to Christmas, and now they're faced with a choice: Christmas or comfort. This holiday season, Any Hour Services wants to help alleviate some of that stress with our special holiday financing. No money down and no payments until next year. Plus, if you schedule a free estimate before the end of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any full system you buy. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. Again, during the month of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any furnace and air conditioner you buy, and you can take advantage of our special holiday financing with no money down and no payments until next year. For more details, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive.
So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the mayor of Midvale has resigned. The city council says it's disappointed. Second, Democrats in the House want the Ethics Committee to release its report on Matt Gaetz now that he's been nominated for Attorney General. Third, Granite School District talking about closing 3 more elementary schools. Right now, we're at 55 degrees, partly cloudy skies, and back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. All right, we're going to keep talking about the outlook as we talk about new President-elect Trump and how things are going to shake out. And we're going to shift a little bit this time, Leah, to the economy and talking about how things might look. And we're getting really lucky on this segment to have the one and only Robert Spenlove. He's senior economist at Zions Bank. We also knew him from his time up on the Hill. Robert, thanks for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you.
So, as we all saw, the morning after the election, stock market rallied a ton, which I'm sure drove bond yields up, which moves mortgage rates up, right? So maybe everybody's questioning, well, isn't it supposed to go the other way? You're the expert on this kind of stuff. Help everybody understand what's going on right now. I know you're going to read the tea leaves perfectly, and whatever you predict for the future will come true. But let us. How does it look out there as far as your economics perspective?
Well, we're always looking in our crystal ball, and right now, for the last few months, that crystal ball has been a little bit cloudy, and that's one of the things that kind of the overhang of the economy right now is, we've had this high level of uncertainty. Now, we have less uncertainty today than we did 2 weeks ago, but it's still kind of there. And when you ask people, and this is one of the things we saw during the campaign, where if you ask people, is the economy doing well? Overwhelmingly, they say, no, the economy is not doing well. And I can show you all the data to say the economy is doing well, but people don't believe it. And people are just grumpy about how their personal economy is doing right now.
Yeah, so Robert, in our last segment, you may or may not have been listening, I was saying to Rusty, look, it is always the economy, right? So we were talking about election results, and I said, part of my thing is the Democrats lost because they didn't talk about the economy. It is the economy always. And Trump's big thing was, I'm going to fix it, right? Like that was the tagline. If I were hashtagging Donald Trump's campaign, he's going to fix the economy. What are the indicators, you know what I mean? Like you just said, will people just believe it's better because he's there? Does that like a little bit kind of divorced from what's happening with economic indicators? Or are there indicators that you would be watching for to see if Trump is fulfilling that promise to fix it?
Yeah, and it really, if we say broadly, it was the economy, but specifically, it's inflation. And then even more specific than that, it is the change in prices. And so this is where people got so frustrated with economists, because you heard economists saying, hey, the inflation is coming down. We're through the worst part, and now you should be happy. And they're saying, then why is the price of eggs so high? I'll tell you, I speak to a lot of groups, and everyone is still complaining about the price of eggs. And, so in 2019, a dozen eggs was $2. Now it's $5.
Right.
Or you look at a gallon of gas. It's these things that we see every single day. And overall, while, yes, the inflation is down, inflation is just the change in prices. But overall, prices are up 22% over the last 4 years. And everyone wants those prices to come back down again. But the problem is they're not going to come back down. And if they did, it would mean that the economy is collapsing. So we don't want to see those prices come down necessarily. But we want to see that inflation slow. And then we need to see income increase to catch up to those increase in prices. And historically, that takes a long time for it to happen. In the 1970s, it took 10 years for wages to catch up with prices. And we're only, 3 or 4 years into this period. So it's going to take time for people to adjust and to catch up with this price shock.
Robert, you said something that I thought was spot on as we talk about the economy. For prices to come down, you would actually need to have deflation. That is the definition of prices coming down. The only thing that makes deflation happen is a collapsing economy or a really bad economy. So, eggs stay at $5. The concern is, can we just, hopefully they don't go any higher from here, and that kind of flattens out, or at least the curve flattens out. Speaking specifically of the inflation outlook, it's maybe 6-12 months out, what are the markets saying right now, or how does it look as far as the heating or cooling of just that inflation rate that you mentioned?
So we just got a new inflation report yesterday, and it looks overall pretty good. The consumer price index has been coming down. So if you remember, it started in 2021. It peaked in 22 at around 9%. It's now around 2.5%. But last month, it ticked up just a little bit. It went from 2.4% to 2.6%. And so there is some fear. And this is one of the things the Fed is worried about. If you go to interest rates, the reason the Fed raises rates is to slow down the economy, slow down that inflation. And so they cranked up those interest rates to slow that out of control inflation. And if that inflation continues to cool, continues to get closer to 2%, then they can lower rates. But we're seeing some sectors, so the overall inflation ticked up, and then we see some sectors that are continuing to be hotter than we'd like. So housing inflation is at 4%. Services inflation is at 5%. And so the Fed is looking at these hotspots, and they're saying we might have to be more careful about dropping those rates if we don't see clear signs that inflation is actually coming back down to where it should be.
All right, so let me be a little political here with you, Robert. You just said housing inflation. The number one issue, right, for Utah voters this year, according to the Utah Foundation's survey, was housing affordability. Everything I'm hearing you say is Trump can't fix this, right? So to a certain extent, correct me if I've got that wrong, or if it's going to take 10 years, or these interest rates are not going to come down, does he pay for it at the ballot box in 2 years? Is he really going to, reap all of the problems? Does that make sense, in a way that he just can't address it?
So this is one of the really interesting things is the president has very little direct impact on the economy. However, if the economy is doing well, they take the credit. And if the economy is doing bad, they get the blame. And you saw that in the 1970s, you saw that in 1992, and you saw that again this year. And so the president will, bear the credit or the blame if the economy is doing better. Now, there are some things that can be done. If you just on housing specifically, the components of housing is land, labor, and capital. So, what's the cost of the supplies? What's the cost of the labor? But then that land part, if we could dramatically reduce regulations on the cost of getting that land and developing that land, that could make those home prices cheaper. And so that's an area, it's really kind of a local regulation issue. But holistically, if we can drop some of those regulations and get that development cost lower, then it should drop the price of houses.
So, Robert, what are your thoughts on another topic that's come up with President Trump? Tariffs. From your economics perspective, good, bad, middle ground, what are your thoughts on these tariffs?
Okay, so there's economic theory and then economic reality. So economic theory would say if you raise tariffs across the board to all countries that are exporting into the United States, then it will cause inflation to rise because those companies will have to raise their prices to make up for it. However, Trump is famous for this. He uses these as a way to negotiate. And so he says, we're going to impose 10% tariffs, but he says, but if you're China, it's going to be 60%. And if you're Vietnam, it's going to be 5%. That's a way for him to kind of use that as a tool to try to get better trade agreements with different countries. So that's where I'm a little reluctant to say, yes, this is the result. It could be the result, but I feel like Trump is going to use it as a way to try to promote more domestic growth. And then at the same time, if they're reducing federal stimulus, if they're lowering federal spending, then that's also deflationary. So there's a lot of different parts that could have an impact on this inflation story.
All right. Robert Spenlove, thanks for joining the show today. A lot to look forward to coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources. We're going to discuss the state of the races here in Utah and why ballots are still being counted. Plus, we're going to dive a little bit more into the Department of Education coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Midvale Mayor Marcus Stevenson is resigning after what he says are drastic changes in his personal life. In a news release, the Midvale City Council said its members are disappointed by the circumstances surrounding the mayor's departure. Midvale City Council member Paul Glover will take on the mayor's responsibilities until the council picks a new mayor. A family sawmill that's been around for 80 years in Camas burned down last night. South Summit Fire District Chief Scott Thorell says the Blazard family mill was filled with old equipment that just isn't made anymore.
We were hampered by very strong south winds, had very rapid fire growth, and there was a large volume of fire on our arrival.
He says the timber stored outside the mill was saved, but there's no way to process it. He adds that the family's business was uninsured. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Meta has been ordered to pay a fine of about $850 million in Europe after local ads in Facebook Marketplace. The rules in Europe don't allow showing ads to users highlighting things for sale near them. The European Commission says it exposed users to its online classified marketplace, whether they wanted to use it or not. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 207 points. The NASDAQ is down 123 right now. And a KSL weather. Looks like a storm is headed here for the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time 2:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
No watering, no mowing. In our drought-ridden state, artificial turf sounds nice, but wait.
They're telling us we have to tear it up.
That's not necessarily the full story.
KSL investigates the red tape around green turf tonight at 10.
Feeling frustrated? Ignored? Deceived? It's time to get Gephardt. Get Gephardt. Weeknights at 10 on KSL.
Can we talk about something difficult to discuss? Are you going through a difficult financial time? You have equity in your home, but nobody can help? American Home Loans has created the Bridge Loan program to use your equity regardless of your credit at this time. The Bridge Loan can be used to pay debts, collections, IRS liens, divorce settlement, or home improvements. Call at 801-262-2221, 262-2221. This loan creates a bridge between now and a much brighter future. After COVID, one of their clients had over $85,000 in credit cards. Their scores were too low to borrow on their home. American Home Loans was able to save them $2,000 a month. And after 8 months, they qualified for a conventional loan and lowered their payments. The consultation is free and confidential. Please call them and see what they can do for you. The number is 801-262-2221, 262-2221, or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com, AmericanHomeLoans.com, and MLS 245422, Equal Housing Lender.
The holidays are a magical time to get engaged. At Shane Company, we're here to help you create your dream engagement ring in just 3 easy steps. Choose a setting that speaks to your style. Compare diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. Then personalize it with a decorative crown and special engraving. Or choose a perfectly preset ring that's ready to go. At Shane Company, you'll find everyday competitive prices, a no-pressure environment, and an unmatched free lifetime warranty. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Nice and quiet on the Valley freeways and our main secondaries. No problems and good speeds. UDOT, though, is reminding drivers to plan ahead for a full overnight closure of Bangerter Highway in South Jordan Friday night starting at 10 p.m. It is expected to reopen by about 5 o'clock Saturday morning. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll see high clouds moving in with showers expected from Friday into Saturday. And right now, 53 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources with your two top political experts today, Rusty Cannon and me, Leah Murray. Rusty, one of the things I think I've been seeing on my social media feeds, I don't know if they're in your For You pages as well, is this complaint that like all the ballots haven't been counted in Utah.
Yeah.
I do feel like people think, man, everything goes really fast. How come we don't know at 8:02 p.m. Tuesday night last week what the results were? And some of the claims have been, it's about the way that we do our elections in Utah. And I just don't agree with that. I want to be really clear.
No, I think it's way off base.
Yeah, that's way off base. But to help trying to drive this home, Shelley Jackson, State Deputy Director of Elections, is here with us today. Welcome to the show, Shelley.
Hi, thank you.
So first of all, tell us, how close are we? Are we almost at like 100% of all of the ballots? And also, how many ballots in the state of Utah in a presidential election year do you expect to have? And are we almost there? Are we almost done counting them all?
We are almost done. In fact, at the end of last week, 96% of all the ballots had been processed and counted. I think when we took a poll of the clerks, the county clerks this week, we were at 98%. All we have left right now are those provisional ballots that were cast by people coming in person and updating their registration or registering for the first time.
You know, that makes sense. Shelley, it sounds like the ones that are left are special cases, right? Which obviously you want to be slower with and want to be more methodical of, hey, something was messed up, we're going to change it, or those types of things. But also, are the remaining percentage also including ballots to be cured, or is the cured process a separate number?
So there would be a few more, yes. Most of the cures are done, but the counties that are canvassing or certifying the results this upcoming Tuesday, yes, voters have until Monday at the end of the business day, so probably 5 o'clock for most counties, to cure their ballots.
Now maybe
that's a good point.
Maybe we're using too much lingo
here. Yeah,
Leah.
Shelley, I was going to say.
Shelley, remind everybody what a curing of a ballot is. I should have done that.
Yeah. So if you get a letter and a phone call saying, hey, we weren't able to verify your signature on your by-mail ballot envelope, there's an affidavit, the cure process, so you can sign that affidavit and say, yep, that was my signature. It maybe looks a little different, or you don't have a new one on file, but just someone verifying that that was their ballot and they voted it.
All right, so Shelley, talk to me about, is it the case that, I don't know, has it ever been the case that Utah knew at 8:02 p.m. on election night? And maybe that's totally ridiculous to say. Like, is the answer, so give me a feel for, like, is it the presidential elections because there's so many more people voting? Is that why it takes a little bit longer? Does it always take this long? Are there different election cycles that are like faster or slower? Like, just talk to us about, is this timeline even something to be commenting on? Is it always the case we're like looking at this stuff 2 weeks later?
Sure, it's always going to be, of course, more voters in a presidential year, so it is always going to take longer. Do we always have results at 8:02? I would say no, not even in a municipal year. The only thing at 8:02, at 8:15, you could have in a municipal year is the by-mail ballots that were received, through Monday at the clerk's office. You definitely wouldn't have polling places at 8:15. It takes time to clean those up and bring those results into the office. So you'd never have those results right away.
So it's been interesting to watch a few legislative races, and maybe there's other types of races that are in this same situation, where person A is ahead on election night, and now person B is ahead after days or a week of counting. We saw that happen. In fact, we had people from a legislative district up in Ogden where this
House
happened.
10.
Yeah, House 10,
10,
where
yes.
Lesser was defeated by Coford. We had both on. Are there other races like that are still hanging in the balance, or we basically put them all to bed at this point?
Yeah, I think Davis County has a local school board that is just within a few. I think last time I checked, it was about 1% difference. So, if they had a lot of provisionals, again, it would have to be from that district. But there are quite a few close races in the state. Those are two examples I can think of.
Yeah. So, Shelley, give me a sense, too. Give us a sense. Has this year gone well? Does that make sense? Are you feeling that all the county clerks did okay, that the election ran well? Does that make sense? Or do you would say, overall we're doing well, but man, we need to fix this piece. Does that make sense? Or looking at this going forward, we would address this. Or just give us a state of the elections.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do think it has gone well. It was exciting to see a lot of first-time voters come out on election day. Most of the calls I took were people saying, hey, is it too late? I just turned 18, or I'm 19 or 20 and I want to vote for the first time. So I think we always on election day see a lot of those people turn up in person. But we always do a debrief. In fact, I'm putting together one right now for the county clerks in December where we can all get together and talk about what can we do better. We're always looking at that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love you guys are going to debrief. That makes me I just love that feedback loop, right? So you get all in the same room and talk about it. Shelley, but you must have, even though you haven't done that debriefing yet, like you said earlier, you had polled county clerks, right? So someone might have called and been like, wow, right? Like we had this many vote. Like, was there something that's popping that will be part of that debrief?
Yes. Most of the county clerks that we spoke to said they got 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 ballots back on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of election week. That's a lot of, manual work that has to be done. So that's the one thing, though, it's hard to change human behavior. So people voting earlier certainly would help that, but people are entitled to vote up until 8 p.m. on election day. So it takes some time.
Shelley, I need to just confess here to you that Rusty and I were both people whose ballots came in on that Monday because we were very late voters, right, Rusty?
Yeah, it was. I don't want to make any other further comment and incriminate myself.
You're right.
But, we won't tell your county clerks.
Okay, yeah. Don't tell Brian up in Davis County, please.
He usually harps on me. I'm usually a late voter.
Is there anything that can be done to smooth out the process if behavior doesn't change, where you get a lot of last minute? I guess Utah we count the ballots, although the results aren't posted, obviously, as they come in, right? Meaning you're not stacking them up and creating more work after election day. It's kind of done as they come in, right?
Correct. So ballots go out 21 days early, and as soon as they start coming in, county clerks do start processing those right away.
Yeah, so Shelley, give me an answer that you might not know. Okay, so like you all have been reporting voter turnout, and I feel like that voter turnout number is voter registration. So first, tell us, what was the voter turnout of all of our registered voters in the state of Utah? And then do you have a sense of what the turnout is for voting eligible? Does that make sense? Like for all the people who could have voted, do you know what that number is?
Yeah, and then I think we're just solidifying that first turnout number, so that is based on active registered people. It also doesn't take into account the people who weren't registered before Election Day but came in. So I think we will probably end up in the high 80s. And unfortunately, we do not have a pulse on the eligible but unregistered people.
Yeah, I got you, Shelley, but you know that's the number I'm always looking for. Shelley Jackson, State Deputy.
I would love that number.
Yeah, I know. State Deputy Director of Elections, Shelley Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right, look, Rusty, President-elect Trump has made several pledges regarding the Department of Education. I'd like to talk about what he's promising, what we think will happen. Stay with us.
Food brings people together, but many families don't know where their next meal is coming from. In Utah, 317,000 people, many of whom are children, are struggling with food insecurity. And Macy's is continuing the tradition of bringing hope to families in need. You can help provide hope by donating to Macy's Harvest of Hope Drive, now through November 30th. All donations will be donated to a local food bank to serve families in our communities. Purchase an icon for any amount or a prepackaged bag of food with items that food pantries need most at any Macy's store or online at Macys.com. Look for items tagged with the Harvest of Hope icon throughout the store. A portion of sales from those items will also be donated to local food pantries. Together, we can make a difference in our communities and provide hope to families and children facing food insecurity. Visit Macys.com or your local Macy's grocery store to learn more.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I want to tell you about the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care in Bountiful. It is their goal to create and provide a safe, home-like environment while at the same time delivering wow experiences. Whether you're just tired of making your own meals and doing your own cleaning, or whether you're helping your parents find the perfect place to spend their retirement years. Now, the owners, they've paid incredible attention to detail. For example, all of the furniture and artwork is custom. They've put in beautiful windows to make the whole facility light and spacious. Plus, the Beaumont is a place the whole family will want to visit. They have an incredible family game room that includes a golf simulator and putting green with every golf course in Utah programmed into its memory. Plus, new landscaping that includes fire pits and waterfalls, with some rooms walking out into beautiful courtyards or other outdoor spaces. The Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care is conveniently located on Main Street in Bountiful. Find out more at thebeaumontassistedliving.com.
$100,163. That is the average amount of money a person saves on taxes in retirement with Boss Retirement Solutions. Discover how much money you could save with a free, customized retirement tax savings analysis. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Boss Retirement Solutions is a 5-time winner of the Utah Best of State Award, and they have 7 offices throughout the Wasatch Front. $100,163. That is the average amount of money a person saves on taxes in retirement with Boss. So let's find out how much money you could save. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors. See website disclaimer for details.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a family-owned sawmill in Camas went up in flames last night. Second, the mayor of Midvale has resigned, citing drastic changes in his personal life. Third, Utah's reservoir levels are looking good as we head into winter. 53 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray, and we have got some breaking news. President-elect Trump has asked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to join his administration as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. So, Leah, this isn't a total surprise. This idea has been floated for a few months now. This is what the President-elect just tweeted. He said, "I'm thrilled to announce Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. The safety and health of all Americans is the most important role of any administration, and HHS will play a big role in helping ensure that everybody will be protected from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and food additives that have contributed to the overwhelming health crisis in this country. Mr. Kennedy will restore these agencies to the traditions of gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency, and to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again." Leah, that's some breaking news. We just found out about, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, so Rusty, real quick question for you with a big smile on my face. Do you think it is the role of government to make America great and healthy again?
No, I knew you were going to ask me that.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah.
When you look at this, doesn't this sound like very big government?
It does, but I don't think there's any way of getting around the fact that government is involved in healthcare in an area of keeping us safe. So I'm going to be the hypocrite here and say that is not a fair question, because as we've gone back and forth, others that have listened to us together, where we go back and forth on the role of government, I get it. I get your jab. It is well placed, and you make a point. However, as we know, this was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s perfect role, right? This is kind of what I'm not going to say auditioned for, but I'm saying this is exactly his passion, it's his lifelong passion, this area, and him in charge of HHS, that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
So what do you think the president-elect means by a gold standard scientific research? So can you tell me what it is that, and maybe you don't know, so maybe we could just speculate about this, but what is it that Robert Kennedy Jr. has feelings about? I know he's a vaccine skeptic, so he's skeptical of vaccines. Mm-hmm. I know he used to be an environmentalist, right? We also know he I think you and I did a story once about him finding a dead bear in New York City Central Park. I don't know if you remember that, right? So he's kind of an odd duck. Mm-hmm. But what is it about? What are we talking about when we say the gold standard of scientific research?
Well, if you've listened to a lot of his longer conversations, whether it's on podcasts, 1 or 2 hour conversations as he was campaigning, and others, I, being the nerd that I am, I listened to several of those. And as he goes through his whole, not speech, but his whole thought process on vaccines, he makes you think. It's not as nutty as you, once you listen to his detailed analysis. Yeah, he's said some pretty crazy stuff here and there, but he makes a good point with all the data and all. And I think what he's talking about is getting back to where, when he says gold standard of scientific research, just to where that research is trusted, I guess. And maybe this just get to the point of the perception of Americans and whether they trust what is being put out. After all we went through 4 years ago, I think just a lot of people have questions, and this is his passion, especially on vaccines.
So do you think this is a conversation about the COVID vaccine or about maybe mask mandates? Does that make sense? Like it is in that shadow?
I think so, but
Okay.
he this is rarely mentioned now in what he's talking about. He's more talking about, the increases in autism and ADHD, sleep disorders, infertility rates, diabetes, obesity. That is the stuff that he has talked about. And I think that is really more I think we've moved past that conversation, I hope. But I think he makes a good point on going into detail on all of that. And
Okay.
this will be the platform to do it.
Yeah. So I wanted to I pitched in the last segment into this segment that we were going to chat about the Department of Education, and then this breaking news came in. But I'm going to tell you what, I actually feel like I can make it do a dovetail, right?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that President Trump wants to do is close the Department of Education, which every Republican president except for George W. Bush has said they wanted to do and would do, and since it was created in 1977. So I want to say this is an almost 50-year conversation where Republicans want to close the Department of Ed. But there are a lot of things that the Department of Education does, like, free lunches for children who can't afford to buy lunch, right? So I think what they mean is we're going to close this department. I don't think all of the things the department does has to go away.
Correct.
And I legit think what you would do is to take that Department of Ed and roll it into a Health and Human Services, right? So you could really say the parts of education that we want the federal government doing, right? Like, I don't know, maybe student loans or something, like whatever it is, could be defined as human services, right? So you would maybe expand the role of HHS just a hair to fold in those education pieces. So again, just to be clear, that's me thinking that. Does that make sense? If I were closing it, what would I do with those agencies in a reorg? What do you think?
I think that's entirely possible. I wanted to get your thoughts on, I think of it in two categories. I think of K through 12.
Yep.
And then that's kind of what I think of with Department of Education, but I honestly don't know the answer to this. Do they also oversee higher education?
Yeah, they totally do,
Okay,
right?
because you're in higher education. So I wanted
to
to get your opinion on some of the things that he had said. I think these were campaign things that he had said along the way about reforming higher education. Do you think any of them hold merit? He's talked about reforming accreditation, if I said that correctly, to kind of as an overhaul. Your thoughts on accreditation? He did talk about creation of an American Academy. I'm not a huge fan of.
You knew the question.
No. Yeah, you're going to ask it. I'm gonna just jump in front of it. I am not a fan. I don't want a government university. I mean,
a national university that's free.
Yes, it sounds good in concept. I don't think it works. But he then also talked about actually taxing some of these humongous endowments that some of these universities have. What do you think on all three of those?
Yeah, so I think your point, I like how you said it. I mostly am thinking about K-12, but the federal government's very much involved in rules for higher education. When I think about accreditation reform, and I will just kind of say this, we get accredited every 5-10 years, kind of depending on what's happening. I am not someone at the university who does that job, right? So I want to be really clear. That's not, I'm someone who gets assessed for the report, right? For the accreditation. I think that it is a little bit, when I read here that says Trump aims to reshape accreditation, allowing new accreditors into the market. So I think we've heard this from our state legislature a little bit, Rusty. If the answer to the question is, why am I teaching things I don't like? So the legislature last session said no more diversity, equity, and inclusion on Utah's campuses. And some of Utah's campuses responded with the accrediting body requires us to, right? Like there are programs where their accrediting bodies require us to. Maybe one answer to that is to add other accrediting bodies, right? That would then be able, how do I say? If I'm an elected official, I'm telling higher ed to do something, and the answer is I'm not going to do what you told me because the accrediting body matters more than you, right? What you'd want is to disrupt that marketplace. And the higher endowment tax on wealthy colleges, he's going to pay for that free college that's a government university by increasing the tax on wealthy college endowments. I think, don't you feel that this is it's very populist, right? So it's a beautiful Trump message on higher ed. How do we increase access? We go and steal Harvard's money. But also, don't you think, these are the colleges that Elise Stefanik had that major fight with in the House Appropriations Committee last year and the year before over Gaza?
Yeah.
Right, over that. And so I'm wondering a little bit of that here is how am I going to pay for this thing? I'm going to go take the money of these universities that are so out of touch with America, and that's how we'll do it, I feel like.
Yeah.
I've never heard the American Academy creation one or the higher endowment tax until we're talking about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the accreditation reform has actually been in the wind. Does that make sense? People have been talking about it for a minute.
So is the accreditation market a monopoly?
Yes.
Okay, so there's essentially one. Is there only one?
No, there's like regional. So we are in the Northwest accreditation, right? And colleagues of mine across the country, there's different regional accrediting bodies. But then like Rusty, like the nursing college has the accreditor for nursing.
Yeah.
And the accounting program has the accreditor for accounting. So the universities are in these regional bodies. And then every program that has an accreditor, does that make sense? They would have kind of professional accrediting bodies.
Got it. All right, next on Inside Sources, new polling shows that Generation Z voters are less likely to publicly discuss their voting choices. Why is this? We're going to discuss it after the break. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah's reservoirs are in great shape as we work our way into winter. Reservoirs statewide about 73% full on average. That's about 18% higher than they normally are.
You know, we never know what we're going to get for the winter. We don't know what our spring runoff is going to be. So having that water in the reservoirs is like money in the bank that we know we can use later. So it's great news.
Laura Haskell is director of, Utah Division of Water Resources Drought Coordinator. She says only Settlement Canyon and Yuba reservoirs are trending below average, but water watchers are hopeful we can get a good snowpack for a third straight year. Three-time Olympic gold medalist Lindsey Vonn announced this morning that she's coming out of retirement to rejoin the U.S. ski team. She's now 40 years old. It's been 6 years since she last competed in the Olympics. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Several Utah ski resorts are opening this weekend, and they've had good snow this year in California, too. Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort in the Central Sierras got a fresh layer of powder, and the snowmaking machines have been hard at work there. And to the north, around Lake Tahoe, some of the big resorts will be opening next week. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closing trading today down 207 points. The NASDAQ was down 123. The S&P 500 down 36. And our KSL weather. We've got clouds moving in, and we could see wet weather by Friday evening. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a gnaw. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call tow cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Still quiet out on the roads if you're on any of the Valley freeways, including I-15, no accidents, but we do have just a little bit of busy and slower traffic moving southbound I-15 between downtown and 2100 South. Celebrate the 80th anniversary of America's first Nutcracker at Ballet West with music performed live by the Ballet West Orchestra. Reserve your seats for this holiday tradition at balletwest.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for high clouds to move in today with showers expected Friday night into Saturday. And right now, 54 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
All right, welcome back to Inside Sources. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside Rusty Cannon. And Rusty, I want to talk about Generation Z. So first of all, do you know when Gen Z, when I say Gen Z, what is the answer? What is that?
Truthfully, I didn't know that answer about a minute ago.
But I'm not being mean, just so you all know. He looked it up.
I did Google it. Gen Z are those born between 97 and 12. Right. 1997 and 2012.
So the oldest Gen Z right now are in their 20s.
Yeah.
And the youngest Gen Z are headed into middle school.
Yeah. 12,
just to give you all an
12
idea.
12 to about, my math skills are failing me, mid to late 20s.
Yeah, so what we've got are our high school students, our middle school students, my college students. So this whole
Correct.
Gen Z. Yeah. And a little bit political science. I'll tell you what, Rusty, I like to talk about generational differences because they exist. One of the ways that you get your politics is through your lived experiences. And the thing is, if you're a generation like we are that grew up without smartphones, it's a little bit different than a generation that grows up with Instagram. I mean, it just is, right? So these lived experiences have an effect. So I wanted to have a conversation about some new polling data indicating that Gen Z were much more likely to hide or lie about who they voted for. So a poll reveals that 25% of voters hid their electoral choices. So here's the reason why I love this, right? So someone asked you who you voted for, right? And then you answer, and then the friendship's over, right? That could be like right there. Or the relationship, or you're never going on another date ever, right? I've been on the podcast Dating at Her Age with Debbie and Caitlin, right? And we talked about how on the dating apps, people will say, if you voted for Trump, swipe whatever direction. I don't even know. I've never been on those
honestly,
apps.
I don't know which direction is
so whatever
which,
the direction is. So a little bit, what we're learning is young people are not, they're hiding their choices because they are afraid of starting a conflict. Because you know what? Most humans are relatively conflict averse. Does that make sense? And let's not start a fight if I don't have to.
Yeah, so what's interesting in this poll is that nearly half, let's call it half, 48% of Gen Z said they lied about who they voted for.
To people close to them. So I want to be clear. It's not
Exactly.
pollsters. So it's not or Dr. Murray, right? So it's not Professor Murray going, who'd you vote for and you lied? Or pollster called and said, who'd you vote for and they lied? It would be you asking your son, who did you vote for? And
Peers.
he lies.
Yeah, lies. 48% of Gen Z 38% of millennials, 17% of Gen X, and 6% of Boomer and older. So it looks like as you get older, you're not afraid to say,
or you don't care,
or you don't care.
It's like, let me annoy everybody.
I am old, and I unapologetically told people I was voting for Trump again, and people I got eye rolls before. I think now after the election you'll get less eye rolls because it's over and it was so decisive. But I found this was interesting that such a high, it's half of them said they lied about who they voted for, even with those that they know well. Showing that they were just fearful of, call it intimidation or the way that they're treated. That's significant. And then they also interviewed some people on some higher education campuses here in Utah, and they had some interesting things to say there as well.
Yeah, no, it was. I want to just tell you, a lot of people in higher ed were talking about like post-election aftermath.
Yeah.
Okay. And I kept saying to people, yeah, first of all, if you are this strung out by the presidential election, seriously, there's a problem. Because and you've heard me say this a million times, who you vote for county commissioner is actually going to affect your life. Who the president is really, is not really that much going to affect your life. I love this quote from Malcolm Hatfield, an English major at UVU, Utah Valley University, telling the Deseret News the day after the election, surprisingly, nobody was really talking about it, and that campus had really normal vibes, which made me smile. So I was getting all these emails, right, from people going, how's it going? And I would agree with Malcolm. It was really normal vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I have a son that works in Washington, D.C., and I think before the election, there were areas of D.C. that they had been boarding up, if I remember right. I mean, I know this isn't on a campus, but just the anticipation of however this is going to go, there's going to be a problem. Maybe I just missed the news. I don't think there were any issues. I literally, that's what's been so amazing is that this was over.
Yeah.
And basically either side just kind of walked away, some happy, some not. But it's interesting with his comment about just being a normal vibe. I'd say that's been across the board.
And also, thank goodness.
Yeah.
A little bit rusty, right? So here's my thing. One of the questions this begs is, what is it about Gen Z? And some people would say maybe Gen Z are just more sensitive. Maybe they're just a bit more angsty, right? And all of those. But a little bit, I'm going to tell you, if your entire political history is 2016, 2020, and now, of course you're not telling anybody, right? In 2016, if your team won, you were like looked at like you were something wrong with you, right? So if you were a Trump voter, there was something wrong with you. In 2020, when your team won, right, the other team showed up on January 6th. I mean, none of this seems in any way polite or civil, right? So none of them are arguing the way that you and I argue about things, right? Which is basically the personal is not political.
Yeah.
The human you are talking to is not political, right? Like I always tell my students, take someone out for coffee or a soda and ask them how they're doing. Don't ask them who they voted for.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the first thing? So I guess I'm not persuaded that it's that Gen Z is more sensitive, Rusty, but maybe you disagree with me. I think it's that Gen Z has really grown up in a very overbearing, highly politicized time where things that shouldn't be political have become political.
Oh, I think that's very true. And this gets onto a bit more of a topic, but I'll get on my soapbox anyway, is I think there is some generational gap now where I would hope that the younger generation is learning the skill to just engage with other people face to face and have a good, honest conversation. I think some of the most meaningful conversations I've had in recent memory are often with people that I am diametrically opposed to politically, where we sit down and we're talking about life, we're talking about our family, our kids, our jobs, whatever. And you see where they're coming from, and it's very enlightening and heartening to see, okay, that's what's important to them. And they've kindly listened to me instead, and they're my age, so this is not, there's no generational gap to where we're able to do that and do it in a respectful way. That's not always the case, but it's nice. And to your point, I worry that this generation is a bit more, as you say, a bit more of my kids use the term screenager.
A bit more, I like that term.
More of just head down in that screen, and what you're seeing in that screen is amped up for eyeballs. It's it wants to grab your attention for a few seconds to watch that video. If it's not edgy, it might not get watched, and so I think they're bombarded with that to where maybe they think that's the way the world is supposed to be when it really isn't. That's not reality.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
As my good Republican friend that you are, right? So a little bit, I worry about that screenager. Man, I'm going to use that phrase. I'm going to tell you, I like that.
You can have it. Yeah.
Can I have that? Yeah. Thank you. So the screenager, that's a very national media source, meaning that like my kids and your kids have friends from all over the country, maybe even internationally, right? Because they can really talk to each other real quickly in a way that we wouldn't have done that growing up. And I wonder if when I say things like it really matters who the county commissioner is, but the media feed is all national, international influencers, right? Like a little bit, maybe what social media is doing is kind of, attacking at the foundation of federalism, right? That actually we are a very pluralistic society and people are super different all across the country and states and localities manage different things, right, in the best ways that they can. And maybe, right, by making everything kind of binary at the national level, we have lost, I don't know, that local feel. Does that make sense to politics? Which really is, it's about your neighbor and you shouldn't be yelling at them and we can work these things out.
Yeah. I think you make a great point, and this whole segment gets to that point of it as far as younger generations coming up. They are just have been raised, and this is mostly my kids. I think they're all Gen Zers now that I do the math. It's just a different world than what I grew up in, and I've got to recognize that and make adjustments and appreciate what they've been through and what they're going through. And I think hopefully if everybody does that, things go a little bit smoother between all generations.
All right, Rusty. So let's look at something that is also, something I don't quite understand. New government department influencing cryptocurrency based on a popular meme. That's a sentence I never really thought I'd say out loud. Stay with us.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? At slcfatloss.com, we know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points, no exercising, no prepackaged meals, no surgery, and no injections with the risk of serious side effects, go to slcfatloss.com now to schedule your free consultation in person or virtually.
I'm Maria Chaleos. If you want to lose weight fast with an all-natural program, Salt Lake City Fat Loss is the answer for you. Salt Lake City Fat Loss helped me lose more than 40 pounds as quickly as possible. Find out more at slcfatloss.com.
Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. That's up to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 801-450-1882 or go to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. Results may vary.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
At Macy's, our famous Kong Cone is here to add a sweet chill to your autumn adventures. Whether you're crunching through leaves or cozying up with family, this towering cone of creamy goodness is the perfect fall companion. Stop by Macy's today and grab a famous Kong Cone, because fall is cool, and your treat should be too. Macy's. Happy shopping!
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the mayor of Midvale resigned unexpectedly today. Second, Utah's reservoirs are in good shape going into winter. And third, Olympic gold medalist Lindsey Vonn is coming out of retirement to ski competitively again. 54 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon. I'm here with Leah Murray. Leah, we're on our last segment. I can't believe that.
How do you think we did?
I hope we did okay. We're still here. They're still letting us talk. So
no
we're
one
did
tore
okay.
us off the stage.
No,
Yeah.
no, they have not escorted us out of the building. We're going to have a little fun on this last segment. So this is an interesting topic. So a lot of things have happened since the election. So let me ask you this. Before we talked about this segment, have you ever heard of the cryptocurrency Dogecoin?
I need to tell you, I don't even really understand what cryptocurrency is. So the odds of me, going lower than Bitcoin, does that make sense? Like, I knew about Bitcoin because everyone was talking about it. I didn't realize that there was, I guess I thought Bitcoin was cryptocurrency.
Well,
so,
it is.
But
yeah,
so I didn't realize there were different brands of cryptocurrency.
Brands is a fair word. Yeah, different. Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. So can I ask you a
question? Because you're like the credit union expert. So Rusty, is this do you have to know this stuff? Like,
no.
If you're working, okay, go.
No, cryptocurrency is still a very new area, but
okay.
Boy, you have some people that are very passionate about it as far as economics go. So this is the story. So Dogecoin, I think I heard of this a while ago. The logo is a little dog. I think it was almost started as a joke, but it is apparently a cryptocurrency. Their mascot is a super cute little dog. It says things like "much wow."
Pause. Have you ever said "much wow"?
I don't think I ever have.
Did you ever say anything was demure?
No.
So I just want to be clear to everyone who's listening, these are things that I go, what? And a little bit, my kids, I don't know, Rusty, if they say this to you, your kids, but my kids say to me, please don't say that. If I say anything that is not appropriate, they are like, no, stop talking.
Oh, my best critics, our family, yes. So Dogecoin, so think about that, DOGE. So as you know, President-elect Trump announced that he is going to create a new I would call it a non-government group, but essentially called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
Or a lot of words for oxymoron.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so DOGE is, I don't know if I'd call it the symbol, the trading symbol, the moniker for this cryptocurrency. So before the election, it was priced at 16 cents before Election Day. Today, 38. So yes, if you owned Dogecoin, has absolutely nothing to do with the Department of Government Efficiency, like zero. It has gone from 16 cents to 38 cents. So we missed out on more than a double of our money.
Yeah, but explain to me, as someone who I want to just be clear, I have like a 401k and someone smarter than I am makes choices on my behalf to make sure that I have something when I retire. Is that a lot?
As far as a return?
Yeah, well, clearly it's a lot on the return, but 16 cents to 38 cents is still 38 cents, right?
Well, correct. I mean, but the price is irrelevant in the sense of if you own it at 16 cents, you could own it at $160. It's the same thing if it goes to $380. But in this case, it went from 16 cents to 38 cents. So that's you're more than doubling your money, assuming it's a liquid market and you can sell it and get cash out, which I believe you can. But that's the interesting part is for those that were lucky enough to hold this. As far as I know, for zero reason other than it has the same acronym, it is rally. Now, there's been a bit of a cryptocurrency rally since the election, so that's probably a lot to do with it. But we just thought it was kind of funny that has absolutely nothing to do with the Department of Government Efficiency or DOGE that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to run.
Right, but let's talk about that. So one, Donald Trump wants the United States to be the crypto capital of the planet. So actually maybe, right? And then two, Elon Musk went as a character on SNL, Saturday Night Live, as the Doge father. And then in 2022, he said Twitter should perhaps accept Dogecoin as payment for subscriptions. So I wonder, do you think, or am I just being a little too conspiracy theory here, Rusty, but do you think it's possible that there's, like a connection with Elon Musk in this and it's not just an accident? You're making a face.
Yeah, I'm making a No, I don't think there's any connection. It just, it happens to line up the acronym Department of Government Efficiency.
But Musk is going to be the leader of the new Department of Governmental Efficiency.
Well, I tell you, this is the makings of a wonderful conspiracy theory. Right?
With like a good Netflix series.
Oh, yeah. Let's make a movie out of this because the acronym matches. But now, in fact, I swear I saw at least some documentation of the first meeting gathering with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Maybe I saw it differently, but that this is going to get up and running and really go to work on hacking away at government revenue, which is fine with me.
All right, can I just say
funny
something?
This is happening.
Doesn't it sound an awful lot like Bill Clinton's third wave in 1993 and 94 when he put Al Gore in charge of privatization? So like back in the day, those were the words we used when we talked about government efficiency. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Rusty, when I was reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh, all ideas, there are no new ideas, right? This sounded so similar. Yeah. Clinton saying we're going to slash, bringing in outsiders to look at things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, time will tell to see how effective this Department of Government Efficiency is. However, they have about the biggest platform to say what they want to say out there, and that's X, to continue to drive that. Obviously, that's Elon Musk's deal and all. So I think we'll hear a lot about that department going forward. The question is, can you substantively implement any recommendations that they come up with through the entrenched interests in government? I think the chances of that are, not to be a Debbie Downer here, but pretty low.
Yeah, so let's circle back to cryptocurrency. So what did you say earlier? A lot of people have passionate opinions about, or like, what did you say? They're
have
very
you ever
passionate?
talked to a devotee of cryptocurrency?
No, I don't even know that. Is that a club? Is there like the devotee club?
Apparently, I need you to. I'm going to have you meet a few people.
You need to introduce me to some
yes,
people.
because it took me a while to get it because with the blockchain technology and all of that, I just don't get it. I don't see how there's a way where somebody can't at some point just turn a key and manipulate it. They're like, no, it's foolproof. And they explain it. My eyes glaze over halfway through and they explain it. But it is a thing, right? As far as how that works. And I'm not good enough at math to understand, but it is a robust hour-long conversation that you need to have with some of these
someone
people.
you need to introduce me to,
I
right?
need to I know exactly. I'm actually thinking of the guy.
Of the person?
That I need to have you talk to.
But tell me, Rusty, like if we become the crypto, what did President Trump say? The crypto capital of the world, of the planet, and make Bitcoin to have a strategic reserve, what policy, what does that mean to you?
So there is a valid conversation around money and the strength of the dollar, right? Meaning if globally, at some point, the U.S. dollar just falls apart, or anybody's currency. And there's been other nations that you've seen where hyperinflation has come in and their currency becomes essentially worthless. Well, then the question, then what do you do? Is there another trading mechanism that you can buy and sell goods with? In my understanding, that's the idea behind cryptocurrencies. It's another thing that can be used as exchange. It has value, and can be exchanged for other goods. And so if it was, at some point accepted as a form of payment, then it's legitimate. But if until then, I mean, this is a very long conversation to have, but until then, it's really just more of a developing theme. The issue is are these robust enough asset pools to where it doesn't collapse? Because these could become a house of cards where there's a collapse. We saw this with one of the trading platforms with it. He's now in prison, the guy that ran it.
Right.
So this is a dicey area, a little crazy area, but there's no way getting around. Go talk to somebody that's owned Bitcoin for the last several years, and they will tell you that it's the real deal. So lots to talk about on that subject. We'll cover it another time. All right. Do you like podcasts? If you do, you've got to check out KSL's podcasts. Topics from true crime, news, politics, and even dating. Plus, our talk shows are all uploaded as podcasts, so you can listen to your favorite shows whenever you want. Just go to kslpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to Inside Sources. Join Leah Murray and Adam Gardner tomorrow, so you'll be back, Leah, from 1 to 3 p.m. for more political discussion and analysis on Inside Sources. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Yeah, so Rusty.
Yes.
What do you think Jeff will be talking about this afternoon?
I am really curious to see what he is talking about.
I'm not saying a word.
You're not talking.
You're not selling the mystery novel ahead of the show.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait a minute.
Right. Yeah. As we learn how to time things perfectly, I'll say it again. Have a nice day. I'm learning, Jeff. I'm learning. Here you go.
8 seconds. You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take that 8 seconds and keep saying that Jeff has a wonderful smile and he's ready to go.
2, 1.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. 54 degrees in Salt Lake City, KSL's top story. Midvale City's mayor abruptly resigned today, leaving their city council scrambling to find a replacement. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera joining us live from Midvale City Hall with details. Eric?
Jeff, I just spoke with Midvale City Manager Matt Dahl, who found out at 8 this morning that Mayor Marcus Stevenson resigned effective immediately. In a press release, Stevenson pointed to his personal life drastically changing. The city manager said a complaint by an employee was submitted last Friday, and a third party was brought in to investigate.
The accusation that came last Friday did say that that the mayor was having an affair.
The city council said they're deeply disappointed in the circumstances surrounding his departure. Because the mayor resigned, Dahl says the investigation was closed, leaving them 30 days to find a permanent replacement. For now, 20-year council member Paul Glover will step in temporarily. When I asked him if he'd officially run for the position, he said he'd consider it. Reporting live from Midvale, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Eric. KSL News Time 3:01. Salt Lake City has rolled out a program to help people struggling to pay their rent. Rudiger Mathis from the Department of Community and Neighborhoods says the Tenant Resource Center will help connect people with help and get questions answered faster.
It's both a website, but it also has a physical location where people can go and talk to somebody. Having somebody who can help you connect with those resources, especially when you're in a moment of crisis, can be life-altering.
He tells David Dujanovic the Tenant Resource Center can help people using a mediator to deal with their landlord issues. They're throwing the book at the guy who crowbarred 63 cars up at the U. This happened back in September. 27-year-old Luke Bullard is charged with claiming that he planted bombs around campus. He did not. Campus had to go on lockdown at the U. Then he waltzed around a parking lot swinging his crowbar at dozens and dozens of cars, causing damage. President-elect Trump naming vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy to lead Health and Human Services. Maria Chaleos is live at the KSL National News Desk.
Jeff Kennedy dropped out of the presidential race after striking a deal to give Trump his endorsement in exchange for a role in his administration. The president-elect releasing a statement saying, "For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception and misinformation." He says Kennedy will make America great and healthy again. Democratic senators are calling for the release of a House Ethics Committee report on former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who is President-elect Trump's Attorney General nominee. ABC's Selena Wang has more.
Gaetz had been under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. Then on top of that, he had also been under investigation by the DOJ for years about allegations of obstruction of justice and sex trafficking.
No charges were brought in the DOJ investigation. Tight security today outside the National Stadium of France. Soldiers patrolling the area ahead of a soccer match against Israel tonight. It comes following violence targeting Israeli soccer fans when a team from Israel traveled to Amsterdam last week.
There are large numbers of police officers. We've seen heavily armed soldiers also patrolling.
ABC's Tom Soufi-Burridge reports pro-Palestinian protesters are gathered outside the stadium ahead of the match. Live from the KSL National News Desk, I'm Maria Chaleos, KSL News Radio.
It is ski season at Brighton. The resort opened this morning for the full season. They now have 2 lifts operating with hopes for more as soon as possible. Brighton joins Brian Head in welcoming daily skiers. Solitude had a few runs open last week, but they don't officially open till tomorrow. As the snowpack starts to pile up, Utah's reservoirs, for the most part, are in good shape, but some are more like puddles.
While the average reservoir around the state is nearly 3/4 full, there are some, like the Lower Enterprise, which is not even 14% full, and Gunnison at only about 9%. The Utah Division of Water Resources Drought Coordinator Laura Haskell tells me not every reservoir is meant to be chock full at this point of the year because they only hold enough water for a single year.
So just collect the water from the spring, store it, use it over the summer, and then it'll be empty in the fall.
There are really only a couple of reservoirs in the state trending below average, including Settlement Canyon and Yuba reservoirs, but overall, reservoir levels around the state are about 18% higher than they normally are. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
A family sawmill that's been around for 80 years burned down in Camas last night. South Summit Fire District Chief Scott Thorell says the Blazard family mill was filled with old equipment that isn't made anymore, and it's all gone.
We were hampered by very strong south winds, had very rapid fire growth, and there was a large volume of fire on our arrival.
He says the timber stored outside the mill was saved, but now there's no way to process it. And sad to report, the Blazard family business was not insured. We have an update on Utes quarterback Brandon Rose. He's out for the rest of the season. His mom posted on social media that her son tore his Lisfranc ligament in his foot right before halftime last weekend. He was given pain meds and a steel plate insole so that he could get through the second half. He's undergoing surgery to